Captain Lee Jun stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars grow brighter as they moved through space. The Harmony's Edge was Earth's newest diplomatic vessel, built to show other worlds that humans could create beautiful things, not just weapons of war. "Captain, we will reach Nexus Prime in 6 hours," said his first officer, Commander Kim Dae. The young woman had served with Lee Jun for 3 years, and he trusted her completely. Lee Jun nodded and looked at the planet, growing larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime was the center of the Galactic Council, where 47 different alien species made decisions for the entire galaxy. Earth had joined this council only 30 years ago, making humans the newest members. "Is our guest ready for the meeting?" Lee Jun asked. "Park Hana has been preparing all morning," Kim Dae replied. "She knows her speech perfectly." Park Hana was Earth's best diplomat. She was smart, calm, and could speak 7 alien languages. The Earth government had chosen her for this important mission because they needed someone the aliens would respect. Today she would ask the Galactic Council to let humans mine resources from planets in the outer spiral region. Lee Jun walked to the guest quarters and knocked on the door. "Come in," said a voice from inside. Park Hana sat at her desk reading through papers covered with notes. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. At 55 years old, she had spent most of her life learning about alien cultures. "How are you feeling about today?" Lee Jun asked. "Nervous," Hana admitted, "but hopeful. Our request is fair. We only want to mine asteroids and dead planets. We are not asking for worlds where other species live." Lee Jun sat down across from her. "The Council has always been suspicious of humans. They think we are too violent." "That is exactly why this mission is so important," Hana said. "We must show them that humans can be peaceful partners, not just warriors." Both of them knew the history. When humans first met other alien species, there had been conflicts. Pirates from different worlds had attacked human ships, and humans had fought back with surprising strength. The galaxy had been shocked when Earth's small fleet had defeated much larger alien forces. Since then, the Council had watched humans carefully. They allowed Earth to join their organization, but they gave humans very few rights. Earth could send one representative to Council meetings, but that representative could not vote on important decisions. "The mining rights would change everything," Hana continued. "If we can access those resources, Earth can build better ships, better technology. We can prove we belong in this galaxy." A voice came over the ship's communication system. "Attention. All crew. We are approaching Nexus Prime. Prepare for docking procedures." Lee Jun looked out the window at the massive space station orbiting the planet. Nexus Prime Station was bigger than Earth's largest cities. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved around it like insects around a bright light. "It never stops, being amazing," Kim Dae said as she joined them at the window. The station had different sections for different alien species. The Vorthak, who looked like walking crystals, lived in one area. The Luminari, who were made of pure energy, occupied another section. The Collective, a species that shared one mind among millions of bodies, had their own district. "Remember," Hana said to Lee Jun, "you and your crew must stay on the ship during the meeting. The Council does not allow armed escorts in their chambers." "I do not like leaving you alone with them," Lee Jun replied. "I will not be alone. There will be hundreds of Council members present, and the meeting will be broadcast across the galaxy. Nothing can happen to me in such a public place." The Harmony's Edge docked at the station without problems. Park Hana gathered her papers and prepared to leave. She wore Earth's formal diplomatic uniform, a simple blue suit that showed she represented her entire planet. "Good luck," Lee Jun said. "Thank you, Captain. I will make Earth proud." Hana left the ship and walked through the station's corridors. Aliens of many different species moved around her. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange she could barely understand how they moved or lived. The Council chambers were enormous. The ceiling stretched up so high that she could barely see it. Seats were arranged in circles with each species sitting together. At the center was a raised platform where speakers addressed the Council. Hana took her place at the human section, just one chair among hundreds. She looked around at the alien faces watching her. Some seemed curious, others appeared bored, and a few looked openly hostile. "The Council recognizes Park Hana of Earth," announced the moderator, a tall alien with 4 arms and silver skin. Hana walked to the central platform and activated the translation device that would make her words understandable to all species present. "Honored Council members," she began, "I come before you today to request expanded mining rights for humanity in the Outer Spiral region." She explained Earth's proposal clearly. Humans wanted to mine resources from asteroids and dead planets, places where no other species lived or had claims. The materials would help Earth build better technology and contribute more to galactic civilization. "We do not seek to take anything from other species," Hana said. "We only want to use resources that currently serve no purpose to anyone." Many council members seemed to be listening with interest. The proposal was reasonable and would not harm any existing claims. Then Keth Vor of the Vorthak species stood up. He was one of the most powerful members of the council, and his crystal body gleamed under the chamber's lights. "Before we consider this request," Keth Vor said, his voice ringing through the chamber, "the council must address serious concerns about human activities." Hana felt her heart skip. This was not part of the planned discussion. "We have received disturbing reports about secret human military projects," Keth Vor continued. "Intelligence sources indicate that Earth is developing weapons of mass destruction." "That is completely false," Hana said quickly. "Earth has no such weapons program." "We have evidence," another council member announced. It was Zeth Prime of the Luminary, whose energy form flickered with different colors as he spoke. The chamber's main screen activated, showing what appeared to be documents and images. Hana stared in shock as she saw papers that looked like Earth, military plans describing something called Project Genesis, a program to build planet-killing weapons. "I have never seen these documents before," Hana said. "This is not real. Someone has created false evidence." "The evidence is quite clear," Keth Vor replied. "Humanity has been lying to this council while secretly preparing for war against us." Hana felt panic rising in her chest. The documents looked real, but she knew they had to be fake. Earth's government would never hide such a program from their own diplomats. "Please," she said, "give Earth time to investigate these claims. We can prove our innocence." "The time for proof has passed," said Speaker Vash of the Collective. "Humanity has shown its true nature." The council began voting immediately. One by one, species after species voted to find humanity guilty of conspiracy against galactic peace. Only a few smaller species voted in Earth's favor. "Park Hana of Earth," the moderator announced. "You have been found guilty of representing a species that threatens galactic security. The punishment for this crime is death." Hana could not believe what she was hearing. "This is madness. I came here in peace. These charges are based on lies." "The sentence will be carried out immediately," Keth Vor said. "Let this serve as a warning to any species that would threaten the peace we have built." Security forces surrounded Hana before she could react. She looked up at the viewing galleries where representatives from news services across the galaxy were recording everything. "Tell Earth the truth," she shouted as they dragged her away. "Tell them this was a trap." On board the Harmony's Edge, Captain Lee Jun and his crew watched in horror as the events unfolded on their screens. They tried to contact the station's security, but council forces blocked their communications. "Captain, we must do something," Kim Day said, her voice shaking with anger. "There is nothing we can do," Lee Jun replied, his hands clenched into fists. "They have us surrounded. If we try to help her, they will destroy our ship." The execution was broadcast live across the galaxy. Park Hana, Earth's peaceful diplomat, died far from home while the council watched in approval. Lee Jun stood in silence as the broadcast ended. Around him, his crew members wept with rage and grief. They had come to Nexus Prime believing in peace and diplomacy. Now they understood a terrible truth about the galaxy they lived in. "Prepare for departure," Lee Jun ordered quietly. "We are going home." As the Harmony's Edge left Nexus Prime Station, Lee Jun looked back at the place where Park Hana had died. The council thought they had sent a message about human weakness. They had no idea what message they had actually sent. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. For Captain Lee Jun, it was the longest 3 weeks of his life. Every day he watched his crew struggle with anger and sadness. They had all respected Park Hana, and many had considered her a friend. Commander, Kim Dae spent most of her time in the ship's gym, hitting training bags until her hands bled. Other crew members sat quietly in the dining hall, barely eating their food. Everyone felt the same burning rage, but there was nowhere to direct it. "Captain," said Lieutenant Park Sang, the ship's communications officer, "we are receiving messages from Earth. The government wants to know what happened." Lee Jun had been dreading this moment. How could he explain that Earth's best diplomat had been murdered based on lies? How could he tell them that the Galactic Council had betrayed humanity's trust? "Send a message to Earth Command," Lee Jun ordered. "Tell them we will report everything when we arrive. Do not give details over open channels." He knew that alien ships might be listening to their communications. The last thing Earth needed was for the Council to know how humans were reacting to Hana's death. When the Harmony's edge finally reached Earth's solar system, Lee Jun felt a mix of relief and dread. He was happy to be home, but he carried terrible news. Earth Command contacted them immediately. "Captain Lee Jun, this is Admiral Choi Sung. Report to headquarters as soon as you dock. President Yang wants to see you personally." The ship landed at the main spaceport in Seoul. Lee Jun had never seen so many military vehicles in one place. Soldiers stood guard everywhere, and fighter ships flew overhead in formation. Earth was preparing for something. Lee Jun was taken directly to the presidential palace. President Yang Mi-rae was waiting for him in the main meeting room, along with the most important leaders of Earth's government. "Captain," President Yang said, "tell us exactly what happened at Nexus Prime." Lee Jun described everything he had witnessed. He told them about the fake evidence, the quick trial, and Park Hana's execution. As he spoke, he watched the faces of Earth's leaders grow darker with anger. "They planned this from the beginning," said Admiral Choi Sung, slamming his hand on the table. "They never intended to listen to our proposal." "Why would they do this?" asked Secretary of Diplomacy Baek Tae. "What do they gain by making enemies of humanity?" Intelligence Director Nam Hyun stood up and activated a large screen on the wall. "We have been monitoring Galactic Council communications since the captain left for Nexus Prime. What we discovered will shock you." Images and translated text appeared on the screen. They were secret messages between council leaders discussing their plans for humanity. "They see us as a threat," Nam Hyun explained. "Our military victories against pirates scared them. They believe that humans are too dangerous to be allowed full membership in the council. This message is from Keth Vor to the other council leaders," Nam Hyun continued, pointing to a document. "He says that humanity must be brought to heel before we become too strong to control." President Yang read the message silently, her face growing pale. "They want to destroy our military and turn Earth into a resource colony. According to these communications, they plan to attack our defense stations next month," Nam Hyun said. "They believe that killing Park Hana will make us beg for mercy. They expect us to surrender without fighting." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Galactic Council was not just Earth's government. They were planning to conquer Earth entirely. "How many ships do they have?" asked General Ryu Jin, head of Earth's army. "Their combined fleets number over 10,000 vessels," Nam Hyun replied. "Our entire military has fewer than 500 ships." "Then we cannot win a direct war," Secretary Baek Tae said. "We should try to negotiate. Maybe we can convince some council members that this is wrong." "Negotiate?" Admiral Choi Sung laughed bitterly. "They just murdered our diplomat on live television. Do you think they care about negotiations?" "We must try," Baek Tae insisted. "War with the entire galaxy will mean the end of humanity." President Yang held up her hand for silence. "There is something you all need to know, something that has been kept secret for 30 years. She looked around the room at the surprised faces. "When we first met alien life, our scientists and Military leaders asked a simple question. What if they try to destroy us? What if we cannot trust them? We have been preparing for this day since we joined the Galactic Council, she continued. We hoped it would never come, but we were ready if it did. Nam-hyun nodded and changed the images on the screen. Project Omega has been our most classified program. Only a few dozen people knew it existed. The screen showed pictures of ships and weapons that looked nothing like Earth's regular military equipment. They were sleek and dark, built for stealth and destruction. For 30 years we have been building a secret fleet, President Yang explained. We studied every alien species, learned their weaknesses, and developed weapons specifically designed to fight them. While Park Hana was asking for mining rights, our engineers were already mining asteroids in secret, Nam-hyun added. We have resources and technology that the Council knows nothing about. General Ryu Jin stared at the images in amazement. How many ships do we really have? Over 3,000 combat vessels, Nam-hyun replied. Plus weapons and equipment the galaxy has never seen before. We also have agents, President Yang said. Humans who have been living among alien populations for decades, waiting for orders. They are in position on every major council world. Admiral. Choi Sung smiled for the first time since the meeting began. They think we are weak and primitive. They have no idea what we are capable of. But why keep this secret from us? Asked Secretary Baektae. Why not tell the diplomatic corps? Because we needed real diplomats, President Yang replied. Park Hana was genuinely working for peace. Her reactions were honest because she truly believed in diplomacy. If she had known about our military preparations, the aliens might have sensed deception. Her death was not in vain, Nam-hyun added quietly. She proved that the Council cannot be trusted. Now we know that war is our only option. President Yang stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. 30 years ago, we hoped to join the galactic community as friends. Today, we learned that they see us as slaves or enemies, nothing more. She turned back to face the room. They wanted to see human violence. They believed we would cower in fear after watching Park Hana die. They were wrong. What are your orders, Madam President? Asked Admiral Choi Sung. Activate Protocol Omega, President Yang said. Send the signal to all our hidden agents. Begin moving our secret fleets into position. Are we really going to war with the entire galaxy? General Ryu Jin asked. No, President Yang replied. We are going to win a war with the entire galaxy. They made the mistake of thinking that diplomacy was weakness. They will learn that human kindness is a choice, not a limitation. She picked up a communication device and spoke into it. This is President Yang Mirai. Broadcast this message to every human world and station. The Galactic Council has declared war on humanity by murdering our diplomat. As of this moment, Earth is activating all defense protocols. We did not choose this fight, but we will finish it. As the meeting ended, Captain Lee Jun felt a strange mix of sadness and anticipation. Park Hana had died believing in peace, but her death had revealed the true nature of the galaxy they lived in. Captain, President Yang said as the others left the room, you will command one of our new battle groups. Your crew has seen what the Council is capable of. They deserve the chance to respond. Lee Jun saluted. We will not let Park Hana's death be meaningless. Outside the palace, emergency sirens began to sound across Earth. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human warfare was about to begin. The news of New Sol Colony's destruction reached Earth within hours. Admiral Lee Sang-ho stood in the emergency command center, watching reports flood in from across human space. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands were clenched into fists. How many colonies have they hit? He asked his aide, Commander Park Ji-won. 17 so far, sir, Park Ji-won replied, her voice tight with controlled anger. New Sol, Hope's Landing, Terra Nova, and 14 others. Total casualty count is over 2 million civilians. Admiral Lee closed his eyes for a moment. 2 million people. Families, children, elderly grandparents. All killed because the Vorthak Empire wanted to make a point about human expansion. Sir, said another officer, Lieutenant Kim Min-soo, we're receiving surrender demands from the Vorthak. They want us to abandon all colonies beyond the Sol system and pay tribute to their empire. What kind of tribute? Admiral Lee asked. Half of Earth's industrial output, sir. Plus they want us to provide them with 1 million human workers as slaves. The command center fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Vorthok didn't just want to defeat humanity, they wanted to own them. President Yoon Soo-jin's voice came over the communication system. All senior military commanders report to the presidential palace immediately. We are activating War Protocol Alpha. Admiral Lee had never heard of War Protocol Alpha, but the tone in the president's voice made his blood run cold. Something was about to happen that would change everything. 2 hours later, Admiral Lee sat in a room deep beneath the presidential palace. Around the table were Earth's top military leaders, all looking confused and worried. President Yoon entered with several officials Lee didn't recognize. What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level, President Yoon began. For the past 50 years since we first met alien life, Earth has been preparing for this day. She activated a large screen that showed images of massive shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, secret factories on the dark side of the moon, and research facilities buried deep underground. We knew that someday a hostile alien race would try to destroy us, the president continued. We hoped it would never happen, but we prepared anyway. What you're seeing is Project Dragon. General Oh Seung-woo, head of Earth's ground forces, stared at the images in amazement. Those shipyards, how long have they been operating? 43 years, replied Dr. Song Hyo-jin, stepping forward from the group of officials. I've been overseeing the project since its beginning. We've built a fleet that no alien race has ever seen. The screen changed to show massive warships that looked nothing like Earth's regular military vessels. They were dark, angular, and covered with weapon systems. How many ships? Asked Admiral Lee. 12,000 combat vessels, Dr. Song replied. Plus support craft, that brings the total to over 20,000 ships, all hidden in deep space, waiting for activation codes. Commander Park Soon-ja, head of naval intelligence, leaned forward. What about personnel? We don't have enough trained crews for that many ships. We do, President Yoon said. Every human who has served in the military for the past 30 years has received additional training they didn't know about. Subliminal, learning programs during medical checkups, advanced simulators disguised as entertainment systems, psychological conditioning through standard fitness programs. You've been preparing our entire population for war without telling us? Admiral Lee asked. We've been preparing our species for survival, the president corrected. The Vorthak have just activated the dragon they should have left sleeping. Dr. Song changed the display again, showing weapon systems and technology that seemed decades ahead of anything Earth had previously revealed. Plasma cannons that can cut through any known armor, quantum missiles that can track targets across star systems, and stealth technology that makes our ships invisible to all current alien sensors, she explained. There's more, President Yoon said. We've also developed something called the Genesis Protocol. If any alien race attempts to destroy Earth or commit genocide against humans, we can respond in kind. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral Lee finally spoke. You're talking about destroying entire worlds. We're talking about making sure no alien race ever considers attacking human civilians again, the president replied. The Vorthak killed 2 million innocent people. They think this makes them strong. They're about to learn what real strength looks like. On the other side of the galaxy, Vorthak Emperor Class sat on his throne, celebrating his victory over the weak humans. His military advisors stood around him, reporting on the successful colony bombings. The humans have not responded to our surrender demand, said General Vorth, his scaled face showing satisfaction. They are probably too scared to move. Good, Emperor Class replied. Let them sit in their home system and think about their weakness. Soon they will beg us for mercy. Should we prepare to attack their home world? Asked Admiral Thek. Not yet, the Emperor said. Let them suffer with fear for a few more days. Then we will take Earth and make them our slaves. The Vorthak didn't know that human agents had been living among their population for decades. They didn't know that every major Vorthak military base had been mapped and studied. They didn't know that human technology was far more advanced than they had realized. Back on Earth, Kim So-young sat in a hospital bed, her burns healing slowly. The 12-year-old girl stared out the window at the stars, thinking about her parents and everyone else who had died on New Seoul Colony. A nurse, Ms. Lim Yoon-kyung, came to check on her. "How are you feeling today, So-young?" "Angry," the girl replied honestly. "The Vorthak killed my family. They killed everyone I loved." "I know, sweetheart, but you're safe now." Kim So-young turned to look at the nurse. "Are we going to fight back?" Ms. Lim paused. She had heard rumors about military mobilization, but nothing official. "I don't know, So-young. The adults are making those decisions. We should fight back," So-young said quietly. "My father always said that bullies only understand one language. Maybe it's time for humans to speak that language." Across human space, the same conversation was happening in homes, offices, and military bases. The Vorthak had thought they were attacking weak colonies defended by a peaceful species. They had not realized they were poking a sleeping dragon. In the hidden shipyards beyond Pluto, massive vessels began powering up for the first time. Crews, who had trained their entire lives without knowing why, suddenly received activation orders. The largest military force in human history was about to wake up. Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of the newest dreadnought, the Dragon's Wrath. Around him, officers prepared for humanity's first major interstellar war. "Sir," said Captain Jung Hwa-young, "all battle groups report ready for deployment." "Excellent," Admiral Lee replied. "Send a message to the Vorthak Empire. Tell them that humanity accepts their declaration of war." "What should we say, sir, Admiral?" Lee smiled grimly. "Tell them that they wanted to see what happens when you attack human families. Tell them they're about to find out." The dragon was no longer sleeping. It was awake, angry, and ready to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of when pushed too far. The first Vorthak fleet to encounter humanity's true military power was Battle Group 7, commanded by Admiral Zex. They were patrolling the border between human and Vorthak space when their sensors detected approaching ships. "How many vessels?" Admiral Zex asked his sensor officer. "Unknown, sir. They're using some kind of stealth technology. We can barely detect them at all." Admiral Zex laughed. "Humans and their primitive tricks. All ships, prepare for battle. Let's finish what we started at their colonies." The Vorthak fleet consisted of 200 warships, each one larger and more heavily armed than anything humans had previously shown. Admiral Zex was confident this would be an easy victory. Then the human ships dropped their stealth fields. "Sir," the sensor officer shouted in panic, "I'm reading over 800 human vessels. They're massive." Admiral Zex stared at his display screen in disbelief. The human ships were indeed massive, but more importantly, they were moving in perfect formation with a precision that spoke of years of training. The lead human ship opened a communication channel. Admiral Lee Sang-ho's face appeared on the screen. "I am Admiral Lee of the Earth Defense Force," he said calmly. "You bombed our colonies and killed our civilians. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick." Admiral Zex snarled. "You dare threaten the Vorthak Empire. We have conquered a dozen star systems. And now you will lose them all," Admiral Lee replied. "Last chance. Surrender or die." "All ships, attack!" Admiral Zex screamed. The Vorthak fleet opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts and missile swarms streaked across space toward the human ships. Admiral Zex smiled, expecting to see the destruction of the human fleet. Instead, he watched in horror as every single shot missed. The human ships seemed to dance between the incoming fire, moving with impossible grace. Their stealth technology made them flicker in and out of existence on Vorthak sensors. "How are they doing that?" demanded Admiral Zex. Before anyone could answer, the human ships returned fire. Beams of brilliant white energy lanced out from their weapons, and wherever they touched Vorthak ships, those vessels simply disappeared. Not exploded, disappeared as if they had never existed. "What kind of weapons are those?" Admiral Zex whispered. "Sir, we've lost 40 ships in the first volley," reported his tactical officer. "Impossible. Their weapons can't be that powerful." But they were. The human plasma cannons used technology the Vorthak had never seen. They didn't just destroy enemy ships. They completely disintegrated them at the molecular level. Within 10 minutes, Admiral Zex's fleet of 200 ships was reduced to 15 survivors. His flagship was badly damaged, life support failing. Admiral Lee's voice came over the communication system again. "Admiral Zex, your fleet is destroyed. You have one chance to deliver a message to your Emperor." "What? What message?" Zex gasped, his ship's bridge filling with smoke. "Tell him that was just the beginning. Tell him that humanity is coming for every world the Vorthak Empire controls. Tell him that he awakened something that should have been left alone." Admiral Zex's ship limped back to Vorthak space, one of only 3 vessels to survive the battle. When he reported to Emperor Class, the throne room fell silent. "You lost 197 ships to humans?" the Emperor asked in disbelief. "They have technology we've never seen before," Admiral Zex replied. "Their weapons, their defenses, their coordination, everything about their fleet is beyond our understanding. That's impossible. Our intelligence report said humans were a primitive species with limited military capability." "Our intelligence was wrong, Your Majesty. The humans have been hiding their true strength." Emperor Class stood up from his throne, his reptilian face twisted with rage. "Then we will gather every ship in the Empire and crush them completely." But even as he spoke, reports began arriving from across Vorthak space. Human fleets were attacking Vorthak colonies, military bases, and supply lines simultaneously. The Sci-Fi attacks were perfectly coordinated, hitting dozens of targets at once. On the former human colony of New Sol, Vorthak occupation forces watched in terror as human ships appeared in their sky. The colony had been turned into a military base after the bombing. Commander Park Hyunwoo led the human ground forces that landed on New Sol's surface. He was one of the survivors from the original attack, and his face was grim as he walked through the ruins of what had been his home. "Find any Vorthak survivors," he ordered his troops. "I want them to answer for what they did here." The battle for New Sol lasted less than 2 hours. The Vorthak had expected to face primitive human soldiers with basic weapons. Instead, they encountered troops wearing advanced powered armor and carrying weapons that could punch through Vorthak battle tanks. Captain Choi Woo-jin, who had rescued Kim So-young from the original attack, personally captured the Vorthak base. "Commander, why did you bomb our colony?" Choi asked, his weapon pointed at the alien's head. "You humans were expanding too fast," the Vorthak replied. "You needed to be taught your place." "Our place?" Choi laughed bitterly. "Let me show you our place." He activated his communication device and showed the Vorthak commander images from across the galaxy. Human fleets were destroying Vorthak forces everywhere. Entire Vorthak battle groups were being wiped out without managing to damage a single human ship. "This is what happens when you attack human families," Choi said. "This is what happens when you murder human children." The Vorthak commander stared at the images in growing horror. "How many ships do you have?" "Enough," Choi replied. "More than enough." Back on Earth, Kim So-young sat in a wheelchair, watching news reports about the war. Her burns were healing, but she would carry scars for the rest of her life. Scars that would always remind her of what the Vorthak had done to her family. Dr. Shin Jae-hyun, who had been treating her injuries, sat down beside her chair. "How do you feel about the war, So-young?" he asked gently. "I feel like justice is finally happening," she replied. "The Vorthak thought we were weak because we tried to be peaceful. Now they're learning that peace was a choice, not a weakness." "Do you think your parents would approve of what we're doing?" So-young thought about this carefully. "My father was a governor who tried to help people. My mother was a doctor who saved lives. They both believed in protecting innocent people from bullies." She pointed at the news screen, which showed human forces liberating a Vorthak slave world. "Those people were slaves, now they're free. I think my parents would approve." Meanwhile, in the Vorthak capital system, Emperor Class faced a crisis unlike anything in his empire's history. His military commanders stood before him with reports of defeat after defeat. "We have lost control of 60 star systems," reported General Vorth. "The humans are advancing on all fronts. Our fleets cannot match their technology." "What about our secret weapons?" the Emperor demanded. "The planet killers we've been developing?" "We tried to use them on Earth, Your Majesty. The humans destroyed our entire strike force before it left our own space. They somehow knew exactly where our ships were and what they were carrying." Emperor Class felt fear for the first time in his long life. "How is that possible?" "We believe they have agents among our population," General Vorth replied. "Humans who have been spying on us for decades. Find them, execute them all." "We've tried, Your Majesty. Every time we think we've found a human spy, they disappear. And then our military bases start exploding." The Emperor sat back on his throne, finally understanding the magnitude of his mistake. The Vorthak Empire had thought they were attacking a weak species. Instead, they had declared war on a civilization that had been preparing for this conflict for half a century. "What do you recommend?" he asked quietly. General Vorth hesitated. "Surrender, Your Majesty, before they decide to do to our worlds what we did to theirs." But it was already too late for surrender. The dragon was fully awake now, and its fury would not be satisfied until every world that had celebrated the bombing of human colonies paid the price. 6 months after the Vorthak Empire bombed human colonies, Emperor Class stood in the ruins of his own throne room. Human forces had reached the Vorthak homeworld, and the sound of battle echoed through his palace. General Park Jin-ho, leading the human ground assault, walked through the palace doors with his soldiers. The Vorthak Emperor, once ruler of 12 star systems, now looked like a broken old reptile. "Emperor Class," General Park said, his voice calm but cold. "I am here to accept your surrender." I surrender," the Emperor whispered. "Please, spare my people." "Your people?" General Park laughed bitterly. "Did you spare the children on New Sol Colony? Did you spare the families on Hope's Landing?" Emperor Class fell to his knees. "I was wrong. I didn't understand what humans were capable of." "No, you didn't," General Park agreed. "You thought we were weak because we chose peace. You thought our kindness was weakness. You were very, very wrong." Around the galaxy, the last Vorthak military forces were surrendering. Admiral Lee Sang-ho stood on the bridge of the Dragon's Wrath, watching as the final Vorthak battle fleet lowered their weapons. "Sir," reported Captain Jung Hwa-young, "all Vorthak forces have been defeated. The Empire no longer exists as a military power." Admiral Lee nodded. "What about casualties?" "Vorthak losses. Complete destruction of their military. Over 3 million soldiers killed or captured. Human losses. 47 ships damaged. 1,200 personnel wounded. 93 killed in action." The numbers were almost unbelievable. Humanity had destroyed an entire galactic empire while suffering fewer than 100 deaths. The Vorthak had killed 2 million human civilians, and in return, they had lost everything. "The other alien governments are requesting meetings," Captain Young continued. "They want to discuss peace treaties with humanity." Admiral Lee smiled grimly. "I bet they do. Send a message to all alien governments. Any species that attacks human civilians will face the same fate as the Vorthak Empire." On Earth, President Yoon Soo-jin addressed the planet from the same room where she had authorized the activation of Project Dragon. "My fellow humans," she began, "the war is over. The Vorthak Empire has been completely defeated. Justice has been served for the 2 million innocent people they murdered." Around the world, humans celebrated. But it wasn't the wild celebration of conquest. It was the quiet satisfaction of justice finally delivered. However, President Yoon continued, "We must remember that this war began because aliens saw our peaceful nature as weakness. We can never let that happen again." In the hospital on Earth, Kim So-young watched the president's speech. She was walking again now, though she still bore the scars of the Vorthak attack. At 13 years old, she had become a symbol of human resilience. Dr. Shin Jae-hyun sat with her as they watched the news together. "Do you feel better now that it's over?" he asked. So Young thought about the question. "I feel like my parents have been avenged, but I also feel sad that it had to happen at all. What do you want to do with your life now?" "I want to make sure this never happens again," she replied. "I want to join the military and protect other families from what happened to mine." Dr. Shin nodded. "You know, there are many ways to protect people. Your mother was a doctor, she saved lives. And my father was a governor who tried to keep peace," So Young added. "But sometimes peace isn't enough. Sometimes you have to be strong enough to fight for what's right." Across the galaxy, the effects of humanity's victory were being felt everywhere. Species that had considered humans to be primitive backwater dwellers now treated them with the respect usually reserved for the most powerful civilizations. Commander Park Soon-ja, now promoted to Admiral, met with representatives from the Galactic Trade Council on the neutral world of Nexus Station. "We want to apologize for not intervening when the Vorthak attacked your colonies," said Ambassador Thel, a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. "We didn't realize the extent of the threat they posed." "You didn't intervene because you thought humans were too weak to matter," Admiral Park replied bluntly. "You were willing to let 2 million of our people die because you thought we couldn't fight back." That is not entirely untrue," Ambassador Thel admitted. "But now we understand our mistake." "Do you?" Admiral Park asked. "Let me be very clear about something. Humanity developed the most powerful military force in the galaxy in secret, over 50 years, just in case someone tried to commit genocide against us. What do you think we've been developing since the Vorthak attack?" Ambassador Thel's face went pale. You're still building weapons?" "We're always building weapons," Admiral Park confirmed. "The dragon is awake now and it will never go back to sleep. Any species that threatens human civilians will face consequences beyond their imagination." The meeting ended with new treaties that recognized humanity as one of the galaxy's major powers. But more importantly, it established the principle that attacking human civilians was now considered the most dangerous mistake any species could make. Captain Choi Woo-jin, the officer who had rescued Kim So-young from New Seoul Colony, was given command of the newly established Human Colonial Defense Force. His job was to ensure that no human colony would ever be defenseless again. Standing on the rebuilt surface of New Seoul Colony, he watched as families returned to rebuild their homes. The planet had been liberated from Vorthak occupation and was once again becoming a peaceful human settlement. "Sir," said his aide, Lieutenant Lee Min-jung, "we've received reports of alien pirates threatening human shipping in the Outer Rim." "What kind of response do you recommend?" Captain Choi asked. "Full battle group deployment, sir. Show them what happens when you threaten human civilians." Captain Choi nodded. "Approved. Make sure every pirate in the galaxy hears about what happens." To their friends, the age of treating humans as a minor species was over. The galaxy had learned that behind humanity's peaceful exterior lay the heart of a dragon that had been sleeping by choice, not weakness. Emperor Class, now a prisoner awaiting trial for war crimes, sat in his cell thinking about the mistakes that had destroyed his empire. A human guard, Sergeant Kim Dae-sung, brought him his daily meal. "Why didn't your people warn us about your true military power?" the former emperor asked. Sergeant Kim looked at him with cold eyes. "Because we hoped we would never need to use it. We wanted to be your friends, your trading partners, your allies. You chose to make us your enemies instead." "I didn't know." "You didn't want to know," Sergeant Kim corrected. "You saw our peaceful colonies and assumed we were weak. You never bothered to ask why a primitive species could build ships capable of interstellar travel, or why our weak military had never lost a battle against pirates." The former emperor fell silent, finally understanding the truth. Humanity had never been weak. They had simply chosen to appear harmless to avoid unnecessary conflicts. The Vorthak attack had forced them to reveal their true nature. On Earth, in the deep command centers where Project Dragon had been planned, President Yoon met with her military advisors to discuss the future. The galaxy knows about our capabilities now, said Admiral Lee. We can't go back to hiding our strength. Good, President Yoon replied. Let them know. Let every species in the galaxy understand that humanity is peaceful by choice, not by necessity. Let them know that the dragon is awake and it will protect human lives no matter what the cost. Dr. Song Hyo-jin, architect of Project Dragon, activated a display showing humanity's current military capabilities. We now have active fleets in 50 star systems. Our technology is generations ahead of any known alien civilization. And we're still building. What are our next priorities? Asked General Oh Sung-woo. Peace through strength, President Yoon replied. We will defend human colonies, protect human traders, and make sure that no alien species ever again mistakes our desire for peace as a sign of weakness. As the meeting ended, President Yoon looked out at the stars through the command center's main window. Somewhere out there, Kim So-young was growing up in a galaxy that would never again see humans as victims. The dragon had awakened, and the galaxy was safer because of it. The Vorthak Empire had learned too late that bombing human colonies wasn't an act of war against defenseless civilians. It was an act of awakening a sleeping dragon. And once awakened, the dragon would never sleep again.